organism, and a number of organism is divided as per the sample provided. Okay, this is the definition of UTI. And recurrent UTI is recurrence of these symptoms plus significant growth in patients who have recovered initially following the initial treatment. Okay, it is more in girls. So in girls, the first UTI usually occurs by the age of 5 years and it peaks during infancy and during toilet training. But in boys, most UTIs occur during the first year of life due to mostly the physiological phimosis, and it is more common in uncircumcised boys. Rapid evaluation and treatment of UTI is important because if UTI is not treated properly, it will lead to renal parenchymal damage and scarring that will lead to future chronic kidney disease and hypertension. So we have to identify UTI early and treat accordingly. Coming to the epidemiology, it is a common bacterial infection in infants and children. The risk below 14 years is 1 to 3% in boys and 3 to 10% in girls. Coming to the male-female ratio, in neonates and in first year of life, males are more predisposed for developing UTI, whereas beyond 1 year, females are more predisposed to develop UTI. You don't have to remember the exact figure, you just have to remember the age. Less than 1 year, boys are more prone to have UTI. After 1 year, girls are more prone. Coming to the etiology, the most common organism leading to UTI is E. coli. Other organisms are Klebsiella and Proteus. Like in girls, E. coli constitutes 75 to 90% of UTI. Other are Klebsiella and Proteus. In boys, both E. coli and Proteus lead to UTI. And other gram-positive organisms like Staphylococcus saprophyticus and Enterococcus. Recurrent UTIs are mostly by this Proteus and Pseudomonas. They are also the predominant organism in instrumentation. Instrumentation means catheterization and nosocomial infection, meaning hospital-acquired infection. Okay. Growth of fungus is seen in immunocompromised, and growth of candida in urine is seen in case of preterm babies. So remember the most common cause, that is E. coli, that you have to remember. Other being Proteus and Klebsiella. Now coming to the normal bacterial flora in the urinary tract, in healthy girls it's lactobacilli, and in infants and toddlers, normal bacterial flora consists of this E. coli and Enterococcus. Okay, so how to differentiate it from UTI? Like I told, patient must be having symptoms and there must be growth of a single organism in the urine culture. That's how you differentiate from the normal flora from UTI. Now coming to the etiopathogenesis. Normally the urinary tract infection is caused by two methods. Either there is hematogenous infection, that is infection from the blood is carried to the kidney, or there can be ascending infection. Like from urethra, it will ascend upwards. Okay, so hematogenous infection is caused mostly by E. coli and Staphylococcus. Due to bacteremia, bacteria are seeded in the kidney, which then can involve kidney, ureter, bladder, etc. Or ascending infection by this E. coli, Proteus or Enterobacter that will ascend upwards. And due to there's a terminology called vesicoureteral reflux. What happens is there is a valve between this ureter and bladder. So sometimes what happens is due to some defect in this junction, there is reflux of urine from the bladder to the ureter. Okay, this predisposes the patient to develop recurrent UTI. Okay. So if there is any infection in this bladder due to this vesico-ureteric reflux or any derangement in this junction, there will be ascending infection towards the kidney. And this recurrent reflux will also lead to renal scarring and other complications. Coming to the host defense mechanism, like every human being is having some defense mechanism to prevent this UTI. Like some bacteria in the urethra, they are expelled with micturition. So that's why in UTI, we are told to drink plenty of fluids so that it will expel the bacteria. There's some anti-reflux mechanism in the papillae, okay, and in bladder, the epithelial cells, they are protective against the virus. We are secreting some amount of IgA in all mucosa. So, also in bladder and also in urine, some amount of IgA is there that prevents the colonization of any bacteria. Okay, and breastfeeding is protective for the first 6 months of life. Now, coming to the risk factors for developing UTI, we are having some defense mechanism, but these factors predisposes us to UTI. So the risk factors are: first is female gender, then uncircumcised male, again vesico-ureteral reflux, during toilet training, any kind of voiding dysfunction that will lead to retention of urine in bladder. Again, obstructive uropathy, same. Urethral instrumentation, that means putting a catheter. Sources of external irritation like tight clothing, pinworm infestation also predisposes to UTI. And also constipation is an important cause of UTI in children. Now coming to the clinical presentation, UTI can manifest in 3 ways. First is clinical pyelonephritis, that is infection of kidney. Cystitis is infection of bladder. And again, one is asymptomatic bacteriuria. The patient may be excreting bacteria, but there won't be any symptoms. Now, first coming to the pyelonephritis, as it is an infection in the kidney, it is a generalized infection. When it is the kidney is seeded via the blood only. So the patient will have high-grade fever. There can be abdominal or back pain or flank pain. Okay. There can be malaise, nausea, and vomiting. Newborns can present with poor feeding, irritability, weight loss, etc. This pyelonephritis is most common in children less than 2 years. It can lead to renal injury and scarring. Like these are some terminology like this: nephronia, renal mass. You don't have to remember that. This pyelonephritis can lead to renal abscess or abscess in the area surrounding the kidney, that is perinephritic abscess. Second is cystitis. We know it's the infection of the bladder. So it will manifest as dysuria, that is painful micturition, urgency, increased frequency of micturition, suprapubic pain, incontinence of urine, like the child can't hold the urine. Okay, and malodorous, meaning bad odor. Some organisms like E. coli and adenovirus can lead to acute hemorrhagic cystitis, meaning there will be blood in urine. Again, coming to the symptoms of UTI, pyelonephritis will present as flank pain and high-grade fever, malaise. There will be WBCs, leukocytes and bacteria in urine, and symptoms can be similar to cystitis in involvement of ureter. In cystitis, there will be increased frequency, urgency, dysuria, that is painful micturition, suprapubic pain. Now the third one is asymptomatic bacteriuria. As it's written there won't be any symptoms, but there will be bacteria in urine. It occurs in 1 to 2% of girls and 0.2% of boys. It is a benign condition. It won't lead to renal injury. So it doesn't need any treatment. Most common organism is again E. coli. Now we know about the clinical symptoms. Now coming to the investigations. So I have told in the definition you need a bacterial growth. So the investigation of choice is urine culture sensitivity. Okay. We also have to do this urine routine. So in urine routine microscopy, in centrifuge sample, there should be at least more than 5 leukocytes per millimeter cube, or in uncentrifuged sample more than 10 leukocytes per millimeter cube. Okay, this is the definition as per urine routine microscopy. And you have to send culture. And for sending culture, the urine sample should be collected in a proper way. Like you have to let the child urinate. In the midstream, you have to collect. Before that, you have to clean the introitus. After cleaning introitus, let the child urinate, and you have to catch the midstream sample in a sterile container. Okay, the method of choice is suprapubic aspiration. Like above bladder, you have to insert a needle and you have to take out urine. This is the method of choice as there won't be any contamination, because this midstream urine sample is also not 100% foolproof. If you are taking the sample from catheter is as such contaminated. So you will get a false growth. So the method of choice is suprapubic aspiration. You can in urine routine you can also get microscopic hematuria in case of cystitis. One more terminology is there, that is sterile pyuria. That means there will be leukocytes in urine, but you won't get any growth in the culture. Okay, it is mostly seen in case of partially treated bacterial UTI or viral UTI, or in case of renal tuberculosis. You can also do rapid dipstick assays in urine that will detect this leukocyte esterase and nitrite in urine that are mostly diagnostic of UTI. Now coming to the criteria for diagnosis, if you are taking suprapubic aspirate, growth of any number of organism can lead to diagnosis of UTI. If you are doing catheterization, then you need at least 50,000 organisms, that is 50,000 colony forming unit per ml to get a diagnosis of UTI. And if you are taking midstream sample, then you need more than 10 to the power 5 colony forming unit per ml. Okay, so we know that the specificity is maximum with this suprapubic aspiration. Okay, so midstream urine sample, you need more than 10 to the power 5 colony forming units per ml. If you are taking it from catheter, more than 50,000 colony forming units per ml. And from suprapubic aspirate, any number of organism growth is diagnostic of UTI. Some other investigations that we do in this first urinary tract infection is, if age is less than 1 year, we have to do ultrasound abdomen and pelvis. All these things we do to find out any renal anomaly or any predisposing factors like this vesico-ureteric reflux and everything we read about those factors for UTI. MCU. MCU is micturating cystourethrogram. Okay, like what we do is we put a catheter, we inject some dye. It will go to the bladder and to the like if there is any vesico-ureteric reflux, there will be this regurgitation of dye to ureter. So we do mostly MCU to for diagnosis of this vesico-ureteric reflux. One more is this DMSA scan. It is done to know the structure of kidney. In age less 1 to 5 years, we mostly do USG, abdomen and pelvis, and DMSA scan, and we do MCU if any of the test is abnormal. In more than 5 years, apart from this urine routine and culture, we have to do USG, abdomen, pelvis. If it's abnormal, we have to do this MCU and DMSA scan. Now coming to the treatment, if the child is less than 3 months of age and it is complicated UTI. Complicated UTI means it involves the kidney, and simple UTI is only involvement of lower urinary tract, that is this bladder and urethra. So in case of complicated UTI and less than 3 months children, we hospitalize the children and give IV antibiotics. The drug of choice is the third generation cephalosporin like ceftriaxone along with the aminoglycoside like amikacin or gentamicin. Then after the patient is stabilized, we switch over to oral antibiotic. And like in non-complicated UTI, we give oral antibiotic. Antibiotic of choice are trimethoprim sulfamethoxazole, that is cotrimazole, along nitrofurantoin also, and cefixime. Cefixime is the safest one. The duration of antibiotic is 7 to 10 days in uncomplicated cases and 10 to 14 days in complicated cases. In acute cystitis, all these antibiotics dosage are given. You don't need to remember all these. Like in recurrent UTI, we need to give prophylaxis. Like we have to, in recurrent UTI, we have to evaluate the patient to know for any risk factor, and during that time, you have to give certain prophylaxis. Like we can give this trimethoprim sulfamethoxazole or nitrofurantoin at 30% of dose. Also, amoxicillin and cephalexin are used. And even if the patient is having any risk factor for developing recurrent UTI, you have to keep the patient on long-term prophylaxis. Then supportive therapy that are given for UTI are maintaining adequate hydration. Alkalination of urine is not necessary, so you don't need to give that Alka-Sol. For fever, paracetamol is given, and we don't usually do repeat urine culture. So coming to the take-home message, UTI should be suspected in all cases of fever without focus. Most cases of UTI are simple, uncomplicated, and they respond readily to outpatient antibiotic treatments, that is oral antibiotics without any sequelae. And appropriate treatment, imaging and follow-up, they prevent long-term sequelae in patients with more severe infections or chronic infection. And any child with proven UTI should have imaging studies performed to rule out vesico-ureteric refluxes or any other renal anomalies. Okay, thank you. Is there
Thank
any
you, ma'am.
doubt?
No, ma'am.
No doubts. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.